The Mustang at Watkins Glen. Uh-huh. M4, 650. Veyron, M4 again. Volks, AMG, NSX, NSX, RZZ, RZZ, Megane, NSX, NSX, AMG, and then me again on the Mustang. Right. So a mix of turbocharger and then from rear naturally aspirated. Well, yes, I have to concede, but not so important this time. No, given the Mustang and the NSX, and let's count the Veyron now that we know about it. Okay. At the time, I didn't look at the car list. I just jumped into the race. Okay. Now, this Mustang, it goes out no matter what you do. It's an unsafe car to say the least. It's like the M4, like it's flimsy. Okay. Like it bends with the track, or it bends with the driver, it bends with the weather, or the temperature and the uh, water and the air. Okay. So you're oversteering, you're understeering, and underdriving and overdriving, and it just all of a sudden says, I am a Mustang, and then we will crash if you are not a Mustang driver. Okay. But it just never gives you an injury otherwise, other than the crash. That you never see coming because it's just a Mustang, it just surprises you. Okay. And then you can never learn what the Mustang does. No, it just goes as far as this. Okay. Now we said turbocharger versus naturally aspirated. From rear, this is a couple of 650s. Or NSXs, I should say. There's a Volks, there's front. Okay, good mess of cars. So the aspiration is all over the place, and it's a real race because we picked yellow this time. Okay. So then we're gonna like change the weather of the track like with the aspiration. That's right. With every throttle, every brake, every upshift, every left or right. Uh, that's the, you know, okay. M4. Uh-huh. NSX. Uh-huh. Veyron. Uh-huh. Megane. Uh-huh. Set. Okay. Now here's a tricky bit about the Mustang. It's a tall, wide, long, middle of the road car, like the M4. The 650 McLaren and the NSX Honda aren't, like the Megane and like the Volks or the Veyron, turbocharger or not. And not just a steering response, like the outside of the car is, for all intents and purposes, the inside of the car with the driver. Okay. Remember what I said about the mix between the turbocharger and the natural aspirated? Now it's the shape of the car on the outside. And then it has a weight. So that's the wheelbase, part of weight distribution. Okay. Once you press on the throttle or the brakes and you shift up and down and you go out and out on the track or the turn, and then you go left or right because you want to be safe and not make any contact and then not get funny looks from maintenance or production. Don't touch this Mustang, don't touch this Ferrari. Right. Okay. Okay. And we just saw it. Okay. I haven't driven this car in a while. It just goes without saying, play it safe. Right. So I'm on the left. I hand them the overtakes. There goes the AMG. Here comes the NSX and the Megane. Now I let them pass because then that was a lot of overtakes. And I don't know what's behind me. That is just building up a wall. Right. So then I'm trying to see where this Mustang is on the track with this car list. Okay. So okay, I've got a pretty good handle on it. And here comes the chicane. it's like, okay, I got a pretty good handle on it. Okay. But then I'm dealing with this NSX. Right. Okay. There's a steering response from the Mustang because of the NSX aspiration. Now, right. Now I know there's behind me whatever it is in another NSX. And then I get contact, and so they're playing with me about this aspiration with the turbocharged and naturally aspirated, and then the size of the NSX versus the Mustang. Okay. But because I'm playing it defensively, they've got nothing on me. Right. As much as they are being welcoming and then playful, and then also, right, like rough play. Right. Because they have a steering response. Right. But also, so do I. It's just I can't take the chance. Right. That they can. Okay. So then, I'm trying to telegraph to this NSX, left to right, and then they learn their lesson. Right. There's no steering response that could save them from that being driven off the road because they wanted to be just so close to the Mustang. Wherever they are on about with this kind of fun. This race. Okay. Now here's the NSX on the left and then the BMW on the right. And then they're saying pretty much, here's the overtake. Okay. Now look at the steering response on the NSX and the BMW. The size of the BMW. Okay. Now the NSX hangs on the left, and so does the BMW. Pretty much, for all intents and purposes. That's because of the steering response on the tire or whatever. Right. Now here's a BMW with the turbocharger. Pretty much similar to the Mustang, but I have the throttle and inputs. Okay. And then he has to concede. Turbocharger notwithstanding, I can turbocharge with the front rear with the natural aspiration. If you're slow enough. Right. And never mind the weather of the track that day. The temperature, the water, and the air. So then that's it for the BMW, or the M4. Right. Now it's a 650, same issue as the NSX, but it's a McLaren. Okay. It's way worse, it's less, or it's more. It's a McLaren that way. Right. But there's only just the one. And I have enough space to not have to worry about the rear so much. Not getting chased down. See, I can't quite catch up to the McLaren 650 with like the NSX. Okay. And then that's the steering response from the Mustang because of the aspiration in McLaren. Right. But it goes out. It's flimsy like the M4. It's just flimsy like the NSX, like just against the natural aspirator. It's a small car basically. Okay. And then it concedes. Right. Now here's the AMG. And the end of the race, pretty much. Okay. Look at the car list. Right. We're gonna give up either the Corvette or the Viper and get an NSX. And then eventually a McLaren maybe. Okay then. Shit. That might just be it. But fuck. There's no front, what the fuck? Shit. Or four-wheel drive? Nope. Not for what I've got going on. I can drive a Mustang. Right. I couldn't before, but I always could. Right. Like the 86. Okay. What I cannot do is pretty much the BRZ or the R8, the RS1 that I like so much, the GT2 test car, such.